Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host, Valerie. Sometime co-hosts Miss Purrington and Mookie are safely at home while we record at Fallout Theater's brand new podcast studio with our beloved audio engineer, Garrett Buss.
Baby boy Buss!
ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. You can keep up with us on Instagram and now, can't believe I'm saying it, TikTok at Comedy Wham.
Heyo.
Or on our Comedy Wham Facebook page. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, Rochelle Takes on Comedy. We've got a festivals page and FPIA page that summarizes the contest's historical results. And of course, we're best known for our events page for live shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW. If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. Tag us on your Instagram stories, and we'll share your show promo. Looking for ways to support all these resources we provide? You can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Search for Comedy Wham on Patreon and check out our subscriber perks. Deep breath. God, this gets harder and harder to do.
That intro is so much longer than it used to be.
I did. It is. Now let's get back to our podcast.
Wow.
Launched in 2016. Should do a play-by-play. Launched in 2016, the podcast project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Today, I'm talking to, you've probably already figured it out, the longtime co-hosts of Sure Thing, celebrating their 10th year.
Actually,
Plus,
it's
11?
2023 is our 11th year.
That's right.
11th
Still,
year.
Wow. One of them has an album called Pointless, which I personally love. Collectively, they run Sure Thing Records. Mm-hmm. They were my very first interview guests way back 7 years ago. And last year we did a live podcast together, and it's a tradition to sit down together for our anniversary to talk about Austin comedy and beyond, or else I get shit from one of them.
Must be January.
And now Comedy
Lord.
Wham presents Duncan, Carson, and Brendan K. O'Grady.
Well, that was a good podcast, everybody. Let's
Seriously, I think we're
call
out
it
of
a
time.
day.
So you're on TikTok now.
Uh-huh.
In the time that it took you to get through that whole intro preamble, Duncan just got another 3,000 views, 4 unsolicited nudes, and at least 2 death threats. Our boy's a TikTok star, and if you know that, but he
I did not know that.
Yeah, he blew up. His daily news jokes thing went viral.
Mm-hmm. I think I did the other night. My son, who you've now seen him grow, the 7 years from teeny thing to tall teenager
Shout
boy.
out. Do we say his name or no?
You can say his name.
Shout out, Travis. Good to see you, buddy.
He was
He's
studying.
still teeny, you know?
He is pretty teeny still.
No offense.
He is in SAT and ACT prep mode,
Oh,
and
boy.
he had like 3 hours test to take, and I just went through because I was committing to this TikTok thing. I went through and just looked at all of my past guests and started following, and I did see your little daily news. I know. So if you saw Comedy Wham follow you at middle of the night at midnight, that's because I had nothing else to
Welcome
do.
to TikTok. It rots your brain. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been like watching because Garrett's actually was our first TikTok, the little shorts from his episode, and I've been watching it, and it's so, oh my gosh, it's so bad.
It's bad news.
It's bad
I
behaviors.
haven't crossed that bridge
Yeah.
yet. I'm a Stark holdout. It took me a long time to even pick up Instagram in the first place, but obviously, no one wants to be on Facebook, so
Yeah.
that's my limited interaction with Facebook is being on Instagram. But I'll be cold in the goddamn ground before I join a platform where most of the content is people doing front-facing videos in a 16:9 aspect ratio.
It's not
As
pleasant.
a cineast, I am opposed to the existence of this shit. And my wife has been trying to get us to do a TikTok like about my record collection or something.
Oh,
where
yeah.
we pick a
that'd be
random
cool.
one. Because apparently the vinyl collector space is pretty empty on there, and it does seem like you can kind of own shit on TikTok. Like it still seems like it's in this Wild West era,
It's,
as popular as it is.
I think it's unexplored territory for like every niche or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So especially like there's not a lot of people that do just like news jokes.
Right.
So I've already been like reached out to by like apps that are like, we're a news app and we really think your community. I'm like, not even a huge guy or whatever.
Good Lord.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a nightmare. As a
It's a nightmare that you've been doing every single day for what?
It's the same way that stand-up is fun, but like being stared at by strangers is objectively a nightmare. Like,
That's 100% yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
or being recognized on the street for stand-up is great in passing.
Yeah.
And if the interaction goes longer than 10 seconds, you're just mortified.
forget it. Yeah, just the viewing experience of like most of them are just like loud noise immediately to grab your attention. I think that's why people like me, because I'm not yelling at them.
Well, ASMR is a big thing on there, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
like that,
Oh
like
my
so
gosh.
you have a dare I say sonorousness
Yeah.
that probably
It's a real Cicerus. Of,
what I'm trying to say is legions of perverts are masturbating to you. And I couldn't be happier for you. I really couldn't. Have you tried to monetize? Is that a thing? Have you tried to monetize, or have you looked at it?
Do you mean ASMR specifically, or?
I just having TikTok. I don't know.
Well, as long as we're plugging everything we have, I did start a Patreon a couple months ago. Yeah.
Okay, tell the people.
For I actually, it doesn't matter, but yeah, I started to do a bonus one every day that you just, if you pay me $5 a month, I friend you from the other account. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
Wow.
It's actually carried over into, because then I'm not like spoiling a lot of bits. I'll just do it for subscribers only. So you might have noticed I've been taping myself here at the show more frequently.
I have, yeah.
Because it's fun to even just be like, hey, look, the other day the timer went off during the show. And it was a kind of funny moment when we freaked out until Hannah was like, oh, sorry, that was me.
Yeah, that was fun.
We all laughed.
No, you were not there last week, but a first.
Yeah.
Not to put anyone on blast, but Hannah, the wonderful tech who's been working our show since our beloved Carl, R.I.P. He just moved, but he
Moved
used to be
Colorado.
our guy. But Hannah had a timer running through the soundboard, and when it went off,
It went beep, 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 beep.
in the uncanny, like coming out of the speaker's way, but not quite so loud that you could like tell it was. So like everybody instantly looked around, even though it was coming from the speakers.
Yeah.
And I had like, I was on stage, and you have this like built-in instinct for like a ringtone. Because I have a muscle memory of like that happens a lot. But I think I froze because I was like, wait, is there a stove in here? Like, why?
I was looking at my palms for a blinking light.
Yeah. So yeah, just little behind the scenes things like that are fun to do for. I have literally like 10 patrons right now because I just started it.
Well, guess what, Duncan? That's more than we have.
Oh, in your face.
So maybe this TikTok thing will, really get us to that one Patreon subscriber mark.
It's really fun, but it is just, it's very addictive, the scrolling of TikTok. So,
Well, I mean, that's one thing that I don't want to do, because I know how it narrowcasts you to, it figures out what you like, and then it just feeds you more of that. So I figure I'm just going to post. This will get me off of Twitter, because Twitter, as we all know probably, I would imagine politically agree, is a dumpster trash fire that nobody wants to deal with anymore. So, we just decided, we're not going to post to Twitter
Not
anymore.
me, baby. I'm going down with that ship.
No,
I don't even like use Twitter for that, but
Yeah.
but just I love a platform where I can watch it in real time. Everybody becoming as miserable as it has always made me.
Yeah, well, I will say that for my personal account, I will look at the news and trends just to see how many words I don't understand.
Yeah, when the goddamn thing
And
loads.
hashtags I don't understand. So.
Yeah.
Well, we have been talking now for close to 10 minutes. Nearly 10 of those my long-winded introduction. And the nice thing that, since we've all known each other for a good, my gosh.
A minute.
Yeah, because it's probably been 10 years since I started going to your shows.
Yeah, probably.
And, not quite stalking you, but, being there almost every Saturday night, at least every other Saturday night, because that was the divorce agreement at the time.
Do you remember like when you started coming? Was it in 2012? Our first year?
Pretty confident it
think it
was.
was probably
Because
that, yeah.
mentally, I know that I separated in 11, had to kind of get my brain in order, and then realize, comedy can be my personal therapy.
yeah.
And I mean, who can argue with a free show? RIP free shows, but you are artists, and you must.
Do you remember if it was the Laugh Lounge at the
No,
time?
no, it was always Sure Thing since I started going.
Then that would have been
2013.
Would have been 2013.
Really?
That's right. Yeah, February. The first show of February 2013 is when we formally changed the name.
Okay.
Got
and
the
put around
arrows.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we'd always run the show. Not to rehash the origin a million times, but originally it came from the comedy radio station wanting to do a show, and they approached the venue. Duncan was already running the mic there on Wednesday, so they said, talk to this guy.
Yeah.
But they created it with all the promo name material as the Laugh Lounge at Austin Java.
Yeah.
And then when that term ended and like they said, hey, do you guys want to keep the show going? That's when we officially renamed it.
I remember we emailed Austin Java, like, just as a heads up, we're going to change the name. And like the owner, whoever, was like, I don't know, I feel like we've built a lot of brand awareness here. The Laugh Lounge at Austin Java, and I'm like, oh, we're still going to use both names.
Oh my god! Well, and what was so funny was at that point, like because we had radio promotion for the first for the summer.
Yeah.
I came on to officially kind of help co-run things after that initial what was it 8-week, 10-week run,
10
or whatever.
weeks, yeah.
And for the radio promotion, they actually left the promo on the air for like another month or something.
Oh.
Even though the radio station was no longer affiliated with the thing at all. So we were like, this is great. But then as soon as that got pulled, and then soon after the radio station went off the air, our attendance at Austin Java had dwindled to almost we had some people come out, but we literally had a week when John Ramsey, who had just done Conan, he had just been on Conan, performed for 6 people.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the idea that the owner was like, oh, we got a lot of equity. Like, you've fucking been here on a set. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But then we built something and they came.
Yeah, I mean, it was that was cool to watch, because I know that in the early days, I could easily find a seat anywhere, and then towards the end, it's like, oh my god, we got to get there super early so we can be at the front of the line. And
that was crazy.
People lined up for that shit, which is that's the kind of stuff that's just I don't know. I'll take that to my grave, being like, we had something go when things were really hot, and people would call the coffee shop earlier in the day, and they'd be like, yeah, doors are at 7:30, shows at 8:30, and we'd pull up at when did we get there usually? A little bit before 7 to start setting up?
Yeah, 6:45.
Yeah, and then we would see people starting to line up at the door, and then and then by 7:30, sometimes the door would literally be going through the restaurant out the door and stuff. I really feel like there's a specialness to kind of energy that comes from people who are and I know people became friends in line waiting.
Yeah.
People would they were drinking coffee before there was alcohol there, but then they started getting lubed up when there was a bar, and that really kind of fueled some of the magic of what a DIY space can be.
It's funny because I feel like us then would be jealous of us now. Where it's you don't have to set up chairs. You're in a theater.
Oh my god!
You sell tickets and it sells out still. Good for you.
We still literally have to do manual labor every time we do a show.
Well, yeah, but, your arrows, your death arrows.
But yeah, that moment when
Did you call them death arrows?
Yes.
Wait, what?
Do you know the first show that you did here at Fallout? I was terrified that somebody was going to get some kind of head laceration from the lighted arrows.
Because they're lower now.
They're lower now.
They're made of wood. We've
all walked into them.
Yeah, we've all walked into them. Any comic who's over 5'10" has probably bumped their heads on them before, but they're not. They're not dangerous.
It's just the maternal.
We've all walked into stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what are you, the king of Siam? Come on.
The Siamese, notorious, the Myanmarese, Burmese, Siamese people, notorious for their wait. Am I confusing? Is that no? Yeah. Siam became Burma, became Myanmar, right?
I bet just
notorious for their ability to not walk into things.
A king would have people looking out for that.
You could have just said, "What are you, some kind of fucking king?" You didn't pick the king of Siam.
All right.
You know what's funny is that when you actually go into Duncan's room, he still has the giant Yul Brynner poster up on the wall. This is from a movie that was famous before I was alive. So Garrett is just nodding along, pretending that he gets any of these references.
I feel like we've been talking a lot, but you haven't actually asked us a question.
but the thing is, I knew I couldn't because you guys would go on autopilot and I could just coast.
Wow, fun.
But I only came with 3 questions.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
All right.
So let's
crack them open.
Let's go with first question. All right. 2022 recap. Question mark.
Ooh.
No, thank you. 2022 recap? Question mark? Decline.
Hard pass.
No, how was 2022?
Fun. More fun than 2021.
For sure.
I'll say that.
Yeah, we knew that there was going to be a pre-vaccine and a post-vaccine era when it came to getting back up and running. And we knew that, given the kind of systemic inability of globalized capital to produce any other outcome than perpetual COVID, where we're just going to get new variants for the rest of all time because there was no mechanism to prevent the spread in the industrialized world and then to make vaccines free in the non-industrialized world. All of which is to say that 2021, we were still on that stutter, stop, start kind of program of having to limit our ticket sales or require masks or proof of vaccination, et cetera. And we knew there was always going to be a turning of the page. I definitely think that when the 2020 presidential election happened, that gave a lot of liberal, normie Democrat type people the kind of permission to turn their page and be like, now that's in the past. Dust hands off comically.
Adults are back in charge.
Yeah. So 2022 is really the first year that we've had that felt like a year. We're back from COVID. Yeah. In the manner of COVID not really directly affecting the day-to-day operations of the show, other than the occasional cancellation or from someone cancels their travel or someone gets sick or whatever.
So you were able to do shows every single week in 2022?
Yeah,
I'm pretty positive. Yes.
Moon Tower outbooked us one week.
That was right. Yep.
As is tradition, but literally we didn't even get sort of preempted by a holiday.
Yeah, no major holidays fell in our path this year.
51 out of 52.
Yeah, and there were a couple that we had to miss. Both of us had to miss, which I'll say one more time. Thank you to Baby Boy Bus stepping in last minute to host one of those shows.
That was in May or something.
we that did happen a couple times just because part of being out in the world a little bit more and everything is that both of us, I didn't have so much as a common cold for almost 3 years, and then 2022 I had multiple multi-week illness. I got mono for the first time ever. I got the flu real bad. I had a bad cold, and
I got sick a few times. I got COVID in May.
And just trying to keep up propriety. It's as a host, I don't feel like I should be sniffling and coughing into a microphone. If a comic shows up, I'm not temperature checking them and stuff. But as the host, I think that should probably avoid that. Try to set best example. But otherwise, 2022 just felt like the year that things started trucking again in terms of getting the show back up to kind of full speed.
Yeah.
Label still
a holding pattern.
Still getting WD-40 on the gears, but we have but we have movement now, and we have a fun one to let's save that announcement for the end.
Yeah,
shall we?
Let's do it. It's a fun ending.
Listen all the way to the end, folks.
So, if my memory serves, no album releases in 2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope, right. And mostly born of honestly just COVID complications for the people that we kind of had deals in place to work with,
Yeah.
One in the can, but a lot of good reasons why that person wasn't ready to keep working.
Well, then the pandemic and is it outdated now? A lot of tension.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the other one was famously we announced that we were going to do a recording in Houston with Dusty Rhodes on we announced it on March 7th, 2020. Then March 8th, everything shuts down. Yeah. NBA games stop. South by is canceled. Shit like that. So that one has yet to reschedule. But
just everything's tougher.
Yeah, the logistics of everyone's lives are harder, and so for people like us who our entire thing is just working on the comics preferences. Some comics have been hey, I just want to record it, and then you chop it up, you polish it, whatever. I don't want to have to listen to it, or I'll go crazy. Some people have literally been like that. Others are nope, I'll do all of the post production work, and I'll let you know when it's done. And our thing is hey, we're here to help in whatever ways that you feel like you need. So,
well, that's also the nice part of starting Sure Thing Records is like a boutique sort of labor of love deal. So it's life slows down, we'll slow down too. We're not here to be we need more content. We're the content farm, and then
quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite. So we got some stuff coming up, but 2022 it just felt good to be back to the weekly show with a reliable environment for attendance. 2021 was a roller coaster of
stable number of seats in the theater, number of tickets to sell, all that stuff, and things have trended back to feeling very quote unquote normal for whatever that ever meant.
Yeah.
Individually as comics, how did 22 go for you?
Can we start? It's interesting because it's such a different scene now in a way that doesn't feel terribly dispiriting or anything. It just is what it is. But it's been great to have the show back and just stress-free kind of in its way to do new stuff and stuff. And then I'm not going to lie, in September, I had TikTok sort of blow up a little bit. And I realized all at once, because I was doing daily news shit on there and not posting any stand-up clips. I started putting them on there, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, you do stand-up too? When are you coming to my town?"
Oh, wow!
And editing clips for it made me a little more excited to write new stuff and go through a bunch of old stuff that's not even on my album. I've been doing this for fucking 16 years. That sucks. God damn it.
I mean, the venues book people that are YouTube or social media influencers or whatever that aren't traditional stand-up comics. This is the world we live in.
I get to be both. Suckers. So that just that little bit of because I'm not getting ahead of myself, I'm like, that'll be my whole living. TikTok. That's a long way away, if ever. Yeah. But just to have people that are into my shit out of nowhere after this much time was a little pep in my step, Yeah. And then the scene is different, but there's still stage time out there of varying degrees. And we, no offense to other shows, have one of the best stages to do bits. So, yeah.
For sure, yeah. 2022 for me as a comic, it's so funny because I don't even think of myself as a comic half the time, just because we're always in show prep mode and stuff, and glad to do it. I will say that there was a bit of soul searching and questioning why do you want to keep doing stand-up comedy after you take a long forced break like the pandemic required, and turning 40 years old, having done this for this amount of time, do you have a good reason to keep wanting to do it? And definitely the show kind of coming back into its own and pulling good crowds again meant that the quality of the stage time that we get here every single week went up, which means it definitely felt like I was writing more. I have a few more kind of hardcore good go-to bits than I had previously. And more than anything, I do kind of feel like 2022 is the year that I had been doing stand-up comedy fully for 10 years, just doing stand-up. And I feel like it's the first time I've ever decided I felt comfortable being what I am on stage now. So much of early stand-up comedy is just trying to learn how to write a joke, just trying to learn how to stand on stage and what do I do with my hands, and lose the self-awareness that comes with the very unnatural act of performing that way. And then the next 5 to 10 years or whatever is just battling to get some sense of your own voice, right? And figure out what version of yourself, the fake artificial version of yourself, but a version of you want to be and are on stage. And sometimes those things don't always line up. I'm not the kind of comic that I wanted to be, but now I'm kind of figuring out what kind of comic I am, Yeah. And I definitely feel like I'm more confident than I've ever been as a comic, and I think I hope that translates to what people see, Yeah. So I'm not really chasing down external bookings, but we got to do some shows last year that were we got to do some half-hour sets. We were on a couple of shows that were these brewery setups where we traded off the closing spot and stretching out a little bit more. Stuff that we just have not been able to do until last year because things weren't open and stuff, and just how natural and easy that felt like a real payoff for oh yeah, I have been doing this for a fucking decade. It's not a question of time. It's not a question of do I know what I'm doing, but you only reach that point when you reach that point. And for me, I guess some of the second guessing or third guessing or whatever, some of that extra self-awareness is if not been shed, is at least now being managed in a way that I hope translates to me being a better comic.
I have to say that hearing you say that, I think the turning 40 thing is part of it too, because you realize, oh fuck, man, this is who I am. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I
fucking do it.
Well, I feel like we see this in some people's comedy, and it's probably a healthy thing where when you're a baby comic, or maybe it's just more you do this in your 20s anyway, but the way that you try on a lot of personalities and styles in your teens and 20s, right? A lot of people, I started doing stand-up comedy when I was almost 30, right? So I felt like I was I don't know, more of an adult, more of that sense, but still you learn about yourself in your 30s. But to be the kind of person who can like, I'm going to try to do this kind of comedy. Okay, now I'm going to try to do this kind of comedy. And the number of like self-evolutions that you have in those early years, I think is tied to the age you are when you're doing it. So the fact that I hit fucking 40 years old, right? Like there's a point at which you stop going to therapy because it's like, you know, this is really important and helpful for me to contextualize like where I came from and blame my parents for everything. But now I'm a fucking grown up person and it's not about my parents anymore. Like I'm living my own life, you know? Yeah. And I feel like at 40 years old, that was one of the that was one of the kind of breakthroughs that you have as a person that's just like, well, you only get one of these and I'm almost halfway through it. And you know, if not well past halfway through it. So if you can't translate that into some kind of sense of confidence in yourself or just in knowing what you are.
Yeah, or even just like acceptance or like a good word that means resignation or something. It's like at some
you positively point, resign yourself to that.
It's like we have all these failed projects, or especially I have like several podcasts that didn't continue, or you know, I did this news joke thing that's working. I did it 10 years ago to no acclaim or viewers, whatever.
Just needed TikTok
on
to
YouTube.
come along.
And eventually you realize it's like, oh, the less I put all my eggs in one basket, I'm just kind of making stuff and having fun, and I'm the only common factor. So I can at least have a faith that I'm dragging that with me wherever I go. So and there was an element of coming back from the pandemic, and I don't know how formally we talked about it because it was like pretty obvious we wanted to bring the show back, even though it was like just late April 2021, like post vaccinations and stuff. But we were
definitely one of the first shows to come back as a regular weekly,
right when Fallout opened, and we were like, if we're gonna do this, like, let's just have fun with it. Which isn't to say we weren't having fun, but this like idea of like, yeah, we just want to book a good green room that's fun to hang out in, and like
there are some people who have not been invited back because they're just not fun for us to be around, you know.
Yeah,
and it's
hang is part of the thing, you know, and and that's a double-edged sword, right? Because if we went out for the last 10 years and hung at Cap like every night, we'd have much different careers or whatever. But yeah, and in terms of being on stage, there's just this comfort level that's like, this is our show, and especially Fallout feels like a home away from home. To, you know, I did a Wednesday night here that I won't name because there are only like 8 people at it, and the host was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm just like, I may as well have just gotten out of bed and like wandered onto stage, which isn't to say I'm not like trying.
I know what you're talking. But
I feel I'm so relaxed here. I'm like, it's just like having a fun little 8-person chat.
Absolutely,
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say that, you know,
were you talking about our live podcast last year?
No. No, I was not.
Well, I just want to say, as wonderful as Fallout has always been to us since we've been here, you know, as you remember, we really had a DIY. We did it ourselves at the old space, and there was a sense of ownership that came with that, and a kind of camaraderie that we had with the staff who were, you know, hourly coffee shop workers on a Saturday night. That's not the busy night for coffee shops, right? But they all wanted to work that shift because they took ownership of it, and like it. I will just say, it definitely took me a while to kind of get over just this not being this just Fallout being different.
Yeah,
it's just being its own thing, and
control freak much. Okay. Oh.
Garrett, I'm getting a lot of static in the cans. Yeah, but all that is to say that also, you know, 2022 and things kind of normalizing, you know, definitely also realized that like, oh yeah, like I've settled into Fallout being as much of a home for sure thing as we've ever had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we've just about crossed the threshold of doing, or maybe not quite, but this year will match the number of shows that we did in the old space, something like that. Am I wrong?
It's I think it's coming at like 70-30, 60-40 or something.
It's hard to tally all that up too, because we had the break between venues and then COVID. So I think technically we are on pace to have our 500th show officially
this year.
500th show this year. Yeah. So it's like last year's a decade, but a year of change of that we weren't a show.
That's
because nothing was happening.
I can't wait. We not to overplay it or anything, but I think we want to we'll have fun promoting the 500 show.
Yes.
When it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it is sort of a dumb point of pride. Because
it's not dumb.
No, but like just in terms of that like dumb sports record technicality stuff of like,
are we talking about this?
Like we can drop it quickly, but live Live at Cold Town is back, and they're like, we're the longest running weekly show. And I'm like, I guess, yeah. You've changed hosts like 50 times. Or
I mean, you're not at Cold Town anymore. You're at the new version of Cold Town.
Chris Tellis technically has his beat with Shit's Golden, but it's a monthly. That also took a lot of time off.
Yeah.
But when we hit 500, I'm going to start just being really loud about this show hosted by us has happened the most time.
Yeah, no question.
No one will touch our record of 500 shows that we booked and hosted.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someday someone will.
I
But
mean,
but we have we for sure. I mean, for us, like the model, the show that we aspired to be as good as was Punch.
Of course.
And you know, Matt did not bring Punch back to the New Cap City yet. We all hope that, you know, and, hey, there's always time to change minds or do something else. But Matt would do, you know, a couple seasons of Punch that were like, you know, 8-10 shows each, right? And had to take long blocks of time off for things like, you know, the contest and then later Moon Tower and stuff. So I mean, as much as I love Punch, I mean, we've done 5 times as many shows as Punch did, I think. Like literally, like, you know, we're just getting to do a weekly show means, like, if nothing else, I get to look back at this body of work and time. And I will also say that, like, because we were that weekly, right, the number of times, the way that I feel so rewarded by it now is that because we have done so many shows, there are so many individual people who have had a memory with us, right? And some of those people, it's insane. It's how do I say this? I don't want to say anything. So there is a person who is currently on a major network comedy show who, anytime I post an Instagram story,
it's like 2 people.
They are the first. No, I know more than one person on more than one network show.
Okay.
I could be talking about my high school friend. You know that
That's right.
Okay, but this person, every time I post an Instagram story, the very first person to ever see it is always this person.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
cool is
friend,
that?
you must have more going on in your life than me right now. But I've had conversations with that person, and they are they're somebody who partially got into doing comedy because they came to see our show. Or last week we talked to someone who talked to us after the show who had
spotted you at Austin FC, right?
There was someone like that. Yeah. There's you know the number of people who will still run into and maybe they don't even come to follow it anymore, but they'll say they'll recognize, oh, I used to go to your show. Like, I met my friend there, I met my wife there, whatever, you know.
It's a real thing that happens, and it's so weird because even like the experience of performing is so ephemeral, and to have all these. I realized earlier when you were talking that there is like this, and I hope this isn't too dark, but our show has, because people got like engaged at it.
That's right.
Met and got engaged. It was like a first date, and they proposed on stage.
That's right.
And it's also been split up as part of a divorce. We've got the full gamut of human.
And then becoming best friends. I mean, Laura and I, that's, you know, we would go to the shows.
There you go.
We met because of another friend who loved going to your show. She recommended it, invited Laura, and then she and I became best friends. And I mean,
I'm so glad, and I know that if we ran a monthly show, like, we'd have some of those stories, but like, we got 500 chances to do that for somebody, right? And there are, I know there's someone out there who's only ever gone to one comedy show, and maybe it was ours, and they fucking hated it, right? And that's why they never went to another stand-up comedy show. But what an impression to have made on that person, right? Like, the fact that we've gotten to have those experiences with
my son's first comedy show. Was
Look at that!
Thousands and thousands of people have been to the show at this point, which is that's the kind of thing where that makes it all feel worthwhile to think about doing, you know, and makes you want to keep going.
Yeah. It's cool to actually, you know, over the years of us talking, it's actually really cool to hear you like kind of accepting that this is a role you've played in the Austin comedy scene.
Well, you know.
Were we in denial before?
Yeah, for whatever
like
it's worth.
Just being really comfortable about it, not boastful or, braggadocious about it, but just like, wow, it's sinking in that, and it's maybe tied into the 500th show.
Yeah, we're definitely getting a little more wistful in remembrances of things past as we approach a milestone. But and honestly, and if it wasn't us, it could and would have just as easily been somebody else. But we got to do this thing, and it's still happening, which is kind of mind-boggling to think how it's survived this way. You know,
especially like when people start a new show or whatever, they'd be like, "What'd you guys do?" I'm like, honestly, I don't know, and whatever we did do has no relevance to today's current trying to promote a show landscape.
I mean,
know?
there are definitely a couple of key pieces of advice you can give to people. I mean, I think that not that anyone's asking me right now, but I'll just repeat what Bearden told us, right? Because Matt Bearden ran Punch, and he didn't invent the alternative stand-up comedy showcase, obviously, but there wasn't something like that in Austin until he really started doing it regularly at Cap City, and he was someone who came out to our show relatively early, and I think we'd both done Punch, or we were both becoming kind of Punch regulars at that time, but when he came out to the show, like, kind of said, and I'll always remember, like, hey, this is good, and to make sure that it stays good, like, hold yourself and your show to a higher standard than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, care about who you book and be judicious about that, because that's what's going to let you kind of establish yourself in the minds of people. And I will just add to all of that if you can be every week and free, people will find you.
It was a big leg up at the time.
Yeah. And maybe that is fanciful. Maybe it sounds like impossible to do, but, like, say this for Austin, Texas. It is still a town where every fucking building has a little 6-foot stage in the corner and a PA system, right? Like, this is a town that is built on live performance, usually around, South by and music performance, but stand-up comedy is one of the few things that translates incredibly well to those spaces, even at a back room at a coffee shop or at a bar or wherever else, So, that stuff is still definitely, I think, attainable.
And I feel like that's born out.
I'm not going to do a free show anymore. I'm too old for that. But.
No, thank you. But I feel like that's just been born out, because that was the attitude for a long time when there weren't that many shows when we started. Is people are like, oh, I don't want to do a show on Sundays because it's against the Cap open mic, and they're territorial. But just, like, I think it can bear out, and our recent continued success in the more crowded scene than ever has been pretty good proof of that, I feel like. Yeah.
And there's more talent than ever here, which is fantastic. Yeah. But if you're running a show, you still need to be judicious. Like I was learning how to be a comic. I would not have booked myself to close my show. I was not good enough to do that for a long time. And when you run the comedy club, that's the all my buddies comedy club. You can have anybody you want perform, but when you're asking something of an audience, even if it's just show up and spend your time with us, right? You should respect that. You should care about it. You should care about your show more than anybody else. You should care about it being good more than anybody else, because no one else is gonna ever care about it unless you hold yourself to a high, maybe even unattainable for where you are at that time standard. Yeah. But you can keep on striving to be good and make it better.
Fun fact, the last show we called The Laugh Lounge, I booked myself to close. Because I knew we were about to change it to Sure Thing and take it much more seriously.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you've been doing stand-up longer than me anyway at that point. So. Yeah,
when I wanted a long clip and stuff at the time to fit. But in retrospect, I'm like, well, that was a little self-indulgent.
Are we on a hard time here?
Well, sort of,
okay,
yes.
Okay,
and I've downgraded my 3 questions to 2 questions.
No.
But
we literally nowhere else to be.
It is our anniversary, Comedy Wham's anniversary.
Hey.
And
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I actually want to talk about the shit we did in 2022.
Please, yeah.
Wrap it up.
Well, it's not wrap it up.
Wrap up the year.
Yeah, okay, so.
Not the podcast.
This is my entire page of notes of 2022, which is kind of mind-boggling.
It's a lot. It is single-spaced.
It is single-spaced.
It is multiple pages.
And I started this podcast in 2016 because I wanted to get to know the people, right?
Yeah.
And in the 7 years' time, it's evolved into this different beast now, where the podcast is like, nobody cares about the podcast. Sorry. I love our anniversary tradition here, but, the podcast seems like less and less of the focus of what Comedy Wham does. But I will say that from the podcast perspective, we got up to 39 episodes because we took the hiatus in 20 and 21. And last year, I said, no, we're getting back on track. And this year, we should be back to weekly episodes, which means getting to talk to different people, getting to talk to Moon Tower people, and it's been cool, the people I've gotten to talk to. And I was going to name drop, but I think I'm not going to do it.
Scroll down on whatever app you're using right now and see all the wonderful guests that Valerie was talking to last year.
It's crazy. And
real big names, yeah.
The thing that I'm most proud of is keeping to my mission that I apologize in advance. I'm not just going to interview cis white male comics because that is not the entirety of the scene. Like if you scroll down, it's people of color, it's transgender.
Why would you have to apologize to us for that?
Well, I know, because I'm in a room full of cis white males.
It's an aggro energy, I guess.
Seriously, this is like a real toxically masculine trait you're performing at us right now. This assumption that we don't have empathy for anybody else, that we're one thing. I mean, you really put us into a very narrow box of sex and gender that,
All right.
All right, Professor O'Grady.
Hey, I am no longer an adjunct anything.
Let's see, what else? We have helped people promote their projects. Dave Buckman on reopening Cold Town, Garrett talking about the podcast studio launch here, JT and his Altercation Festival, and Andre Ricks with Eastside Comedy Club, and even Mana out of DFW. I don't know if she's done your show before.
No.
She's so busy with her thing. We got to do our first comedy festival, which was pretty cool. Taking the podcast out live was fun. We actually have a team of writers. It's no longer just me and Richard.
That's why the intro's so long.
Yeah.
Team of writers and no editors.
Yeah. Let's see. And it's really cool. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 writers. It's crazy who help us out. And then we have Samson Seablum, who's uber Austin comedy fan who makes suggestions. He takes photos at shows. Posted the first TikTok video. I started writing for the Austin fucking Chronicle.
That's right. Good for you.
I was reading the Austin Chronicle when I was in college, a couple years
free
ago.
weeklies are so important. But I grew up in Southern California, and we had the LA Weekly and the OC Weekly, and I would read both cover to cover every single week.
Yeah.
And to me, that was that's you've made it, because this is the cool paper that has all the the good punk bands in it, right? So so this must be the real culture, right?
Yeah,
that's very cool.
It's insane, and there's an article coming out at the end of the month. There's going to be more articles coming out, and it's just kind of cool. Got to be in a music video because I interviewed Maggie Mayfield for her Stop Saying Sorry video. I got to talk to James Murray of Practical Jokers, which is wild that happened. Let's see. And, I continue to kind of be this sort of cool mom to my son. He got to go with me to meet James Murray, and it was kind of crazy. So.
Even though you're making him do his SAT and LSAT?
I'm not making him. He is so self-driven.
SAT and ACT?
Yeah, not LSAT. Although, I'm making him watch a lot of Law and Order.
Pretty early for you.
That's the law one, right?
Yeah, that's the law one.
The law school, yeah.
Yeah. Duncan, did you take the SAT or the ACT?
I took them both.
You did, really?
Yeah.
How'd you do?
Pretty good.
Can I just share my story real quick?
Yeah.
The one that I took was my mom signed me up because I was not going to go to college. My mom told me, "Hey, I signed you up for the SAT. You're taking it on Saturday."
What?
48 hours before I actually took the thing. So I went in blind. Just went off the dome. I did crack the 1,000 mark or whatever, right? But it was only because my verbal was very high. My math was incredibly low.
I got a perfect math score.
Oh,
yeah.
Humble brag.
I literally think I skipped math questions. I literally didn't even answer some of them. Yeah.
So Travis took the SAT without any prep, and I'm like, "That's a good score." And he's like, "No,
nice.
I gotta take it. Yep, not good enough."
If you care. Good for him.
I know.
I went to grad school for free and took the LSAT also on a whim, just because I had to take it perfunctorily.
Oh, sure.
But and then I got a master's degree for free. But I understand other people have to work harder.
All right. Well, with the time that we have left, let's
question
go to my
3.
second. Well, I dumped question.
No,
3.
come on. Rapid fire.
No, it was a really dumb question.
Lightning round.
Even better.
Oh, actually, yes. Let's do this. Okay.
Okay.
So I have this game. Richard gave me. Sorry, I'm away from the mic. Where should we begin? I've been doing this card game now for a year, and I still don't remember. All right. So let's just go around the table. I'll just give you your cards.
Okay.
And Duncan, you read the question to Brendan, and then Brendan, you'll read my question, and then I'll read the question to you, Duncan.
Going around
Sorry, Garrett, no microphone, no card. How funny is it going to be when we reveal later that there never was a Garrett bus?
This says, I would love to show blank who I've become.
Ooh.
Oh, man. I would love to show
It's a loaded one.
the girl that I lost my virginity to that I'm better at it now.
It's good. Yeah.
I mean, like, to be completely honest, like, I know that that's like a goofy joke answer, but it kind of is like talking about like just getting to know yourself in your 40s and like just losing a lot of the insecurity of like all the stuff you really worried about. It's like, you know, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with that's fine.
Right.
Valerie,
Uh-huh.
oh no, oh no,
Uh-oh.
no! I just know what the girl that I lost my virginity to would answer to this.
Oh.
Valerie, I wish I had never seen.
Oh, I wish I had never seen. Oh my gosh.
Duncan, do you have an answer while we're here?
It's like the
Wish I'd never seen. Could it be anything?
Oh, I know, and actually, it's so traumatic and terrible. I actually was a witness to an infant who. God, I'm sucking the air out of the room.
Oh
right
my
now.
God!
An infant.
You're Eric Clapton's ex-wife.
Close.
Oh, no.
No, an infant who fell from a balcony
That's close.
and later lost her life.
Oh!
I was what you call a first responder on the scene.
On the set of Antichrist. On the set of Lars von Trier's Antichrist.
No.
That
it
opens
was-
also with a kid crawling on a window.
Yeah, that was a rough year.
Fun game, Val.
Yeah, truth.
I was gonna say I wish I'd
Duncan,
never
this is
seen.
all
I wish I'd
riding
never
on
seen
you.
Matt Reeves's The Batman.
Yeah.
One of the most joyless, awful things I have
Really-
ever sat through.
Oh God, Duncan, we're just gonna keep this trend going.
I mean,
My story of heartbreak.
oh boy. Is that the whole thing?
That's the whole thing. Dot
dear.
dot.
Well, how do I?
How do you pick these fucking cards? There's only 3 of them.
There's
You could have picked any of them.
Well, no, I just take from the top of the
even
deck.
even
Random,
even
okay.
the I would love to show blank who I've become is like sort of spiteful. and
Doesn't that
dark.
imply that you were lesser than previously?
Like, what is this game? Where to begin? This plane is crashing, so let's all reveal our deepest regrets and embarrassing. My story of heartbreak. I mean, how much time do we have? You
Well,
know,
I gotta get that last question in, for the podcast episode. So
here's what I'll say is I actually have recently become single, and we don't need to get into details. But what's heartbreaking to me is how routine it has become. But it's like it's positive because I'm not like going on a bender and really like letting my life get derailed. But I am approaching 40, and I'm just like, I guess this is what life is like. Every few years, just kind of cast back out in the wilderness. I know who I am now. You know, so
you go.
that's a quietly sort of sort of.
Quietly
Yeah.
desperate answer.
Yeah.
These cards are
What
like
are the
are like-
alternatives?
I know. These are like Brian Eno's oblique strategies
really
are.
for
Yeah.
things to meditate on before you kill yourself.
What is this?
Well, I will tell you what's really funny about these card decks is, it's supposed to be answer open-ended questions, whatever. What I did not know is there's a whole section, and they're color-coded, of sexually suggestive questions. So I asked Dave Buckman
Uh-huh.
one of these color-coded cards, and I was like, I'm so embarrassed. This is a married man, and I'm asking him this question, and it wasn't because I'd never read the instructions of the deck.
You didn't notice
And then
that?
I
You didn't notice that
realized-
it had a yellow handkerchief hanging out its back left pocket?
Yeah.
So
You didn't pre-select them?
luckily, I have taken all of those out so that these are now more.
Oh.
They might be depressing, but at least they're not.
This game is called Cruising.
Yeah.
All right.
Called
Well,
closing time at a bar. Jesus.
tell us your story of heartbreak. All right. Well, let's spend the rest of the time that we have on a more hopeful note. Let's talk about what we hope for 2023.
Oh, I gave up hope a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you turn 40. That's how you accept moving on in your life.
Because I got like when we were talking about 2022, I was like, I feel like we just settled into oblivion in the sense of the world being what it is. But
well, I think this is a good time to share the news that we have, which is
perfect.
So we kind of obliquely referenced it earlier, but there are reasons that we have not been able to move forward on a couple of planned record projects, but we are happy to let you know that on Friday, February 24th, 2 shows, Mac Blake is recording a new album. And there's going to be an album recording show at 8 o'clock here, and then we're going to get a safety set. He's in headline Sure Thing right after.
Sure Thing
so,
pickups.
So you're going to get 2 chances. He'll probably do maybe a mix of material. There might be something different between the shows. Who knows? I know he's got a lot of material, but boy, I could not be looking forward more to getting to work with Mac again. Just every time we have him on, it seems like he's doing some new bit that is 10 minutes long and is slaying, and he insists he's doing now for the second time ever. That isn't hopefully to build up too much there, but the first person that we approached to even talk about doing a label was Mac, because we knew we wanted to line up a couple of like our favorites to work with initially. The fact that we had to kind of have a conversation about it's such a different economic environment in how these things work now. Streaming has just cut the legs entirely out of like selling albums. It's fine. It's not making the money is not what it was ever about for us, but we had to kind of have like a conversation about what value proposition do we still bring? This recording technology is available to everybody in a way that it wasn't necessarily as much 7-8 years ago, whatever it was. And what we kind of all came together on was just to remember that we're all friends, and it's fun to make things with your friends and just, get a couple of other trusted ears and eyes on a project and have people that again, hopefully you've built some mutual equity and respect with over time to bounce ideas off and hopefully get the whole thing executed. So I was just texting with Dustin Swaylock today. Shout out Dusty, we love you,
Dusty.
And the two of us it just it started as a logistical thing, and then we just started texting and just we're both, man, I'm excited to work on a thing with you. Let's get this going again, right? Yeah. So hopefully that's a satisfactory answer to what we're looking forward to. In the short term. 2 great recording shows that are going to be once again on Friday, February 24th here at Fallout Theater.
Fabulous Fallout Theater.
Yeah, and then getting to work on this, and if there's one thing that we know, it is that when you work with Mac Blake, shit gets done. So that'll hopefully be a great way to kind of kickstart our way back into more recording projects. And then just to keep doing Sure Thing for as long as we get to do it. For as long as it works for us, which. I'll just personally say it definitely feels like we have to be closer to the end than the beginning at this point. I have a hard time imagining myself doing this, at 50. But I don't know, maybe my imagination will expand over time. But because of that, and because of what the kind of build from 2021 to 2022 to tonight, where we have a sold out show and all of our comps full and the old feelings back, kind of realizing that I only get to keep doing this for as long as I keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so that keeps me excited and looking forward to every Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. The show's always been its own way forward. So, and it's never been something that, with probably the exception of starting the label, we went about with a real long-term view other than just the next show. So to close in on 500 is a huge accomplishment in itself. And yeah, like I said, before, I'm a little more jazzed to do, I have a vague resolution to hit the road this year, which is to say, even just to plan it around the show maybe, or obviously we can either, but just do a week in Denver and do all the call in a bunch of favors from doing this for so long. And time was, we put something together with Mac when his first album came out. So maybe something like that could be in the cards.
Wow.
Yeah.
If everyone else is as restless as I am.
He said that he wants to do it again if we wanted to. So
well, he has a kid now, and everyone's
but
but
you each have people in other towns that would want to come see you specifically. I'd have to put on pants and then drive somewhere. That's not down the street from my house.
I have literally like 8 people in 8 different cities. It's not like
I know, but you know,
thing.
one of my favorite jokes whenever someone from out of town is on, who's like, you know, oh, if you're ever in New York, you know, like, just let me know, happy to have you on. You'd be like, I'm not gonna be doing that. just outright say to that, like, but I am of course kidding, but I haven't been able to get excited about the prospect of going out and doing shows that way. But I know you've been talking about it.
Well, it's also interesting because like one of the biggest things to not hammer about my own Patreon all the time, but you don't make a lot of money from Spotify. And we recently shifted all of our things to a different. So I took mine down. I was like, you know, I have some value here. So I just made it when you sign up for my Patreon, you get it for free. And I think because it's like this additional, like, oh, here's a fun little perk. You join my thing. People have actually listened to it and be like, hey, I loved your album. Like that's happened literally like 8 out of the 10 people. And that's the most feedback I've ever gotten from it. Like except for like the night it came out or whatever. So I think there's just, you know, we're going to do Mac's thing, and it's always fun to sort of speculate on how to adapt to the changing landscape of the constantly shifting media, like wilderness. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff that we could think of eventually. I just don't know what it is yet.
You know, just in that whole multimedia landscape, there is a glowing review of Pointless on Comedy Wham that you are free to use to, you know, get those TikTok views up in some way. Just a thought.
I should. I will. Yeah. I'll tell my Patreons about it.
Do you want to plug your Patreon? Do you want to tell people the address or whatever?
Well, my TikTok name is Yesterday in a Minute because that's my gimmick. Is like, hey, here's what happened yesterday, which we already forgot about.
And how long do you spend on that in the video?
What do you mean?
Well, you just told us your handle, but we don't know what the concept is.
Well, no, you just explained it's yesterday, but you didn't explain it's a minute long.
It's.
Thanks for coming to the last Sure Thing. I can't keep carrying this. I can't.
Right over my head.
I get it.
So that's also my name on Patreon. So that's
Yesterday in a Minute.
Yesterday in a Minute.
Right. I'm honestly, I'm not on TikTok. I have not seen
it. He doesn't know. Yeah.
I really do. It's not me.
But you can share it to other platforms. That's how I always watched TikTok videos because people would post it on Instagram somehow.
I'm not going to watch it if he does post it somewhere else. I just want to make that really clear as well.
That is honestly...
That's a true friend.
I got records to listen to. I got movies to watch. My attention span is flawless. My heart and soul are pure because I have not destroyed my brain.
All right. All right, old man. Well, let me.
sorry. All three of us just our heads whipped over to the clock on the wall.
Are we doing?
We're almost done. Okay, I'm just gonna call it. Well, hold on. My goals.
Oh yeah, 2023.
I want to do another festival. I thought that was fun. I'm gonna keep doing a lot of the stuff that I always do.
Hell yeah.
Podcasting. Get out to more shows now that my kid is like studying all the time. Maybe one day.
Fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll actually get his license so that I don't have to drive him at 6 a.m. to swim practice.
Buddy, come on. That's another test you can study for. You'll love it.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. All right. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents Duncan Carson and Brendan K. O'Grady. Go ahead. Tell us where we can find you on social media and promote your projects.
Oh, well, we discovered that.
Okay.
I'm at Duncan Carson on Twitter and Instagram. Yesterday in a Minute on TikTok and Patreon. SureThingRecords.com is where you can find information about the album and the show.
And at SureThingATX, Instagram is probably the big one right now, but that's our socials. And as for me, don't find me. I don't have any interest in being your friend. I'm a real person who does comedy and not someone who's trying to monetize my image and create a permanent record of me electronically that other people can look at. I'm not interested in that. Just go to at SureThingATX. I'll be the one who's replying anyway.
He does see it first. Every time.
Well, we have jobs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Brendan and Duncan continue to be the comedic geniuses and just darlings of Austin comedy that you heard today just as much as I have. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Duncan Carson and Brendan K. O'Grady for the 7th anniversary episode.
I thought you were going to say seventh and final time.
Final time.
I completely thought.
End of tradition.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Brendan. And thank you, Garrett.